here to say the barrier to entry for automation is a lot lower than you think. My name is Jolliffe, and I'm the Director of Product Work. I'm a proud father of 2 boys under 2, and I worked as a part of RBC's Center of Excellence for a number of years. When I was at RBC, I was responsible for developing automations, mentoring people, leading a team of automators, as well as directly responsible for the processes in multiple departments. Here at work, I'm responsible for leading product development, as well as coming up with new automation features and automating different processes for our clients. Over all this time, I learned one thing. Getting started with automation can be a lot easier than people think. Today, I'm going to be talking about the traditional cost of automation, how low code has reduced the barrier to entry for automation, low code limitations, and how work addresses some of these challenges. First, I'm going to start with a short story about my time at RBC, where we were setting up an RPA program for an operational group of 2,000 people. I was one of the first people to go through an automation developer training program that was hosted by an external consultant. The training program took 2 weeks before I was even able to use the tool. My first process was to automate the refresh of our financial reports at the end of each month during our financial cycle. When I was working on this, it took 3 months before we saw any value out of the product, and we also took over a year to get it to the place that we wanted it to be. As the volumes kept increasing with this, we had to keep getting new RPA licenses, as well as keep getting new VMs, because an RPA license can only be used on one process on the platform at a single time. After that, I joined the Center of Excellence, and I learned that there's a complicated relationship between managing the RPA developers, the automatable processes, and the licenses that requires you to do some complicated math to make sure that your automation program is profitable and successful. Some of the common hurdles that I found during enterprise automation were the technology, where we had to set up new databases, monitoring systems, IT support networks, bringing in external vendors to do training as well as strategy. Human capital, spinning up new teams of developers and IT support and centers of excellence, as well as management layers to oversee the entire thing. And all of this stuff had high costs in terms of time and money. And then the whole thing hinged on change management to tell us whether or not it was going to be successful and people were going to actually adopt the new automated processes. Now, how does low code reduce the automation barrier to entry? Well, first, it allows anyone to automate a process. So you no longer have the complicated process of telling a developer what you need and then getting them to make it partly right and having that communication back and forth. You can automate the process yourself in many cases. You have low upfront costs. You can get started with as little as a couple $100 a month and start automating immediately. You have less developer reliance. Your developers are needed for pushing the company vision forward, as well as creating revenue-generating opportunities. They don't usually have time to automate your operational processes. And if they do, low code can actually make that process faster and smoother. It creates a common language that looks like the process map that I have behind me. So it's easier to iterate and have everyone understand what's actually being automated and what the process is. As well as they support all of the infrastructure and integrations. So you don't actually have to manage databases or monitoring tools. You can just focus on automating your own processes. We can't talk about automation as a platform without talking about Zapier. Zapier is the largest integration platform as a service today. It has almost 8,000 connectors. It has a user design where you can spin up your first simple automation in minutes of downloading the tool. And then it has built-in tools for helping the transformation as well as transmission of information between your different applications. And if you want to integrate Zapier with your product, you can use chatbots and interfaces and tables and other different features to do so. While low code has a lot of benefits to it, there are also certain low code limitations in the platforms today. One, you still have to learn a new platform. Any time spent learning a new automation platform is time that you didn't spend working on your business and driving your own business objectives. Going beyond simple processes on these platforms tends to be very complicated because they're focusing on simple processes and making that easy, and those same processes are very difficult when you start getting more complex. Moving past API connections. So most of them focus on API connections, and when you want to do more than that, you have to buy additional licenses and additional software, and you have to stitch that stuff together, adding cost and complexity to where you were trying to remove that in the first place. And then we have scalability in terms of speed and price. For speed, most of these platforms process items sequentially. So you do item 1, and then 2, and then 3, which has many benefits, but if you're focused on speed and have high volume, then this method's not ideal. For price, these platforms usually charge based on maximum monthly usage, which has two main drawbacks. The first, it's very easy to accidentally increase that usage on their platform, generating a very high surprising bill at the end of the month. And the second is seasonality. When you have month-to-month fluctuations in your volume, you end up paying a lot more some months for volume that you're never going to use. Our goal at work is to address a lot of these low-code limitations that we see in the market today, and to build a platform where you can automate any single business process. We've done this by adding expansive capabilities, such as AI, where you can add human-like intelligence to your automation process and automate things that can never be automated. We have RPA, where you can interact with websites and legacy applications that have no APIs, as if you were a human user clicking on a mouse or entering keystrokes. We have OCRs, so you can take text, unstructured or structured, from PDF documents and use that in your workflow. And then we have a community of human workers that you can access for those tasks that just need the human touch. For everything else, there's API connectors to move information easily from one platform to the next. We believe in parallel processing by design, which means that in our earlier example, items 1, 2, 3, 50, all are a process that started and end at around the same time. So you can scale that process indefinitely without impacting your performance. We know that procuring new licenses can sometimes be a pain and even a showstopper for different projects. So we've included license-included work actions on the platform so that things like lead generation, SMS, AI, all come to all users by default. We think that paying for volume on a platform that you're never going to get any value out of is unacceptable. So on work, all your credits never expire, and you only pay for the successful running of your own workflows. So when you have less volume one month to the next, you actually pay less that month. We've also learned that most people and some people using an automation platform just isn't for them. So we've developed a white glove automation service where you can spend just a few hours with our automation experts, and they will develop your automation on the work platform and keep it up and running and maintain it for you going forward. So there's a lot to learn and there's a lot to think about when you're going through your automation journey. Setting up a new automation program can either be as complex as setting up new teams and infrastructure and databases, or the barrier to entry for automation can be as simple as picking up the phone. The choice is up to you. Thank you.